You are looking at the wrong map. The media has your eyes fixated on the rubble of Gaza and the border of Lebanon, but the war that ends the American economy as you know it will not be fought there. It will be fought here, in a narrow 21-mile-wide channel of water separating Iran from the Arabian Peninsula, the Strait of Hormuz. Every single day, 21 million barrels of crude oil pass through this choke point. It is the jugular vein of the industrialized world, carrying 30% of all seaborne oil and 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas. If you shut this valve, the global economy doesn't just slow down, it goes into cardiac arrest. Iran has threatened to close the strait.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has again threatened to close a key passageway for oil trade if the US blocks oil exports.
The talking heads on television call this a bluff. They say Iran wouldn't dare because it would destroy their own economy too. They say the US Navy would reopen it in days. They are wrong, and declassified file 93.1 proves it. Iran isn't just threatening to close the strait, they have already tried it before, and the United States Navy's response wasn't a simple police action. It was the largest, most intense surface naval battle since World War II. It was a day of absolute destruction known as Operation Praying Mantis. By the end of this file, you won't just know the tactical details of how American destroyers and jets sank half of Iran's fleet in 8 hours. You will understand the invisible financial weapon, war risk insurance, that can weaponize this body of water and destroy the global supply chain without firing a single shot. And you will see why the exact signals from 1988, mining international waters, attacking commercial tankers, and using proxy forces, are happening again right now. The fuse is lit. And this time, when the oil stops flowing, gasoline isn't going to $5, it is going to $12. The explosion was cataclysmic. The blast lifted the 4,000-ton warship 5 feet out of the water. It broke the ship's keel, the literal spine of the vessel. A 40-foot-wide hole opened in the hull. A massive fireball shot up the exhaust stack, incinerating everything in the engineering spaces. The main engines were destroyed instantly. The ship lost all power. The lights went out. The ventilation systems stopped. Below decks, it was chaos. The engine room flooded with seawater and burning diesel fuel. Sailors were trapped in total darkness, choking on acrid smoke, fighting fires in chest-deep water. By all mathematical models of naval architecture, the Sammy B should have broken in half and sunk within minutes. But the crew refused to let her die. For 5 hours, they fought the fires and shored up the broken hull with wood beams and mattresses. They manually jumpered electrical cables to get emergency generators online to run the pumps. Against all odds, they saved the ship. But while they were fighting for their lives, Navy SEAL divers were in the water near the blast site. They found several unexploded mines nearby. They carefully recovered them and brought them to the surface. When the serial numbers on the mines were analyzed by intelligence officers, they matched a batch of mines found on an Iranian vessel, the Iran Ajr, that U.S. forces had captured months earlier while it was caught in the act of laying mines. The evidence was undeniable. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate act of war by the Islamic Republic of Iran against the United States. In Washington, the mood changed from concern to cold fury. An Iranian mine had nearly sunk a U.S. warship. President Ronald Reagan didn't hesitate. He didn't ask for sanctions. He didn't ask for a UN resolution. He ordered a kinetic response. The mission was codenamed Operation Praying Mantis. The objective was simple: inflict proportionate damage. But the U.S. definition of proportionate was about to shock Tehran. The plan was to destroy 2 Iranian oil platforms, Sasan and Siri. Intelligence showed these platforms were no longer drilling for oil. They were being used as command and control centers for the Iranian Navy. They were filled with radar equipment, monitoring U.S. ship movements and coordinating the speedboat attacks on tankers. At 0800 hours on April 18th, Operation Praying Mantis began. Surface Action Group Bravo, led by the destroyer USS Merrill, approached the Sasson oil platform. They radioed the Iranians a warning: "Abandon the rig, you have 20 minutes." The Iranians tried to stall. They radioed back asking for more time, claiming they were civilians. But the American commander watched through his binoculars as Iranian soldiers manned Zu-23 anti-aircraft guns on the rig. They weren't evacuating, they were preparing to fight. When the 20 minutes expired, the USS Merrill opened fire with its 5-inch main guns. The first shells slammed into the steel legs of the platform, shredding metal and igniting fuel stores. The Iranians returned fire with their 23mm guns, but their rounds bounced harmlessly off the destroyer's armor. The U.S. ships hammered the rig until the Iranians fled in small boats. Navy SEALs then boarded the burning platform. They gathered intelligence documents and planted high explosives on the structural supports. A massive detonation cracked the platform in half. Sasson was destroyed. While this was happening, Surface Action Group Charlie was attacking the Siri platform. The result was the same. U.S. naval gunfire turned the rig into a burning wreck, but Iran wasn't done. They decided to escalate. Tehran ordered their navy to sortie. They launched their best ships, the command-class fast attack craft Joshan, and the British-made frigates Sahand and Sabalan. This was a fatal miscalculation. Iran assumed the U.S. Navy would be hesitant to engage in a full-scale naval battle. They were wrong. At 11:30 a.m., the Iranian fast attack craft Joshan approached Surface Action Group Charlie. The U.S. commander issued a final warning: "Stop your engines and abandon ship. I intend to sink you." The captain of the Joshan made a suicidal choice. He fired a U.S.-made Harpoon missile, left over from the days of the Shah, directly at the USS Wainwright. The crew of the Wainwright watched the missile trail appear on their radar screens. They deployed chaff, launching clouds of aluminum foil into the air to confuse the missile's radar guidance system. The trick worked. They fired a standard missile in surface mode. The missile slammed into the Joshan's bridge, vaporizing the command center and killing the captain instantly. The Joshan, broken and burning, sank beneath the waves. But the battle wasn't just happening between big ships. While the heavyweights were trading missiles, a swarm of Iranian Boghammer speedboats launched an attack on the Mubarak oil field. The U.S. Navy responded with air power. A flight of A-6 intruders from the USS Enterprise intercepted the speedboat swarm. The pilots dropped Rockeye cluster bombs. One boat was vaporized instantly. The others fled back to Iranian waters, leaving their comrades behind. Back in the deep water, the heavyweights were arriving. At 1 p.m., the Iranian Air Force scrambled 2 F-4 Phantom jets to support their fleet. They were hunting for the U.S. ships, but the airspace belonged to the U.S. Navy. An American F-14 Tomcat, the same jet made famous by Top Gun, locked onto the Iranian fighters. The Wainwright fired 2 long-range anti-aircraft missiles. One of the Iranian F-4s was damaged by shrapnel. The pilot realized the sky was a kill zone and fled. Then came the Sahand. The Sahand was a British-built Vosper-class frigate, the pride of the Iranian Navy. She was fast and heavily armed. Her captain headed straight for the U.S. fleet, weapons hot. U.S. aircraft spotted her first. A flight of A-6 intruders rolled in on the target. The Sahand fired shoulder-launched anti-aircraft missiles at the jets, but missed. The A-6 pilots didn't miss. They launched 2 Harpoon missiles and 2 laser-guided Skipper bombs. The impact was catastrophic. The Harpoons punched through the hull, igniting fuel and ammunition. The laser-guided bombs dropped directly into the superstructure, destroying the engineering spaces. The fires reached the Sahand's main ammunition magazines. A massive secondary explosion ripped the ship apart. She burned ferociously for hours before slipping beneath the waves. The pilot dropped a single laser-guided bomb directly down the Sabalan smokestack. The bomb detonated deep in the engine room. The ship shuddered and stopped dead in the water, crippled and burning. The pilot radioed back to the carrier asking permission to finish her off. The admiral on the USS Enterprise replied, "No, let her limp home. I want them to know we let them live." By sunset, in just 8 hours, the United States Navy had destroyed half of Iran's operational fleet. They crippled another frigate and destroyed 2 oil platforms. It was the most lopsided naval victory since the Battle of Leyte Gulf. It demonstrated to the world that in a kinetic war, Iran cannot survive against the United States Navy. But viewers, this is where the story pivots from history to your wallet, because the war of 2026 will not look like the war of 1988. Iran learned a hard lesson that day. They realized they cannot win a head-to-head fight with the US, so they developed a new strategy: asymmetric warfare. They realized they don't need to sink the entire US Navy to win. They just need to make the Strait of Hormuz uninsurable. Every commercial ship on Earth carries insurance. It is required by maritime law. A supertanker carrying 2 million barrels of oil is an asset worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The owners will not move that asset unless it is insured against war risk. Normally, this insurance is cheap, about 0.1% of the cargo's value. It's a rounding error. But when a region is declared a war risk zone, the rates explode. In 2019, after Iran attached limpet mines to just 2 tankers in the Gulf of Oman, insurance rates jumped by 1,000% in 48 hours. If Iran mines the Strait of Hormuz today, they don't need to sink 1,000 ships to stop the flow of oil. They just need to sink one. The moment a tanker burns on live television, the Joint War Committee in London will declare the strait a no-go zone. Insurance premiums will jump from 0.1% to 5 or 10%. Do the math. On a cargo of $100 million of oil, a 10% premium is $10 million just for the insurance. This wipes out the profit margin of the voyage. The tankers will stop moving, not because they are sunk, but because the owners cannot afford the risk. A $2,000 naval mine can stop a $1 billion supertanker by weaponizing the actuarial tables of the insurance market. Fast forward to today, the board is set for a rematch, but Iran has new assets they didn't have in 1988. First, the Houthi rebels in Yemen. For months, the Houthis have been attacking shipping in the Red Sea with drones and missiles supplied by Iran. This is not a separate conflict. This is a live fire exercise for closing the Strait of Hormuz. Second, the Ghost Fleet. For the past 5 years, Iran has been building a shadow navy. These are hundreds of old, rusting tankers that operate with their transponders turned off. They engage in ship-to-ship transfers off the coast of Malaysia, pulling up next to Russian or Chinese tankers in the middle of the ocean to transfer oil, while satellites can't tell who is who. This ghost fleet allows Iran to export oil even if the strait is closed to Western shipping. They have sanction-proofed their economy. We are seeing a new axis forming. Iran provides the oil and the drones. Russia provides the technical support and the nuclear know-how. China provides the cash. They are preparing for the next closure. If Israel strikes Iran's nuclear facilities or their oil terminals, Iran has already signaled their response. They will close the strait. If the Strait of Hormuz closes for even 30 days, global oil supply drops by 20%. Gasoline in the United States hits $10 or $12 a gallon. Diesel shortages stop the trucking industry. Food prices, which rely on diesel for transport, double. Inflation hits 20% overnight. The Federal Reserve would be powerless to stop it with interest rates. Operation Praying Mantis taught us that the U.S. Navy can win a shooting war in 8 hours. But it also taught our enemies that they shouldn't fight fair. They won't fight with frigates next time. They will fight with naval mines, swarm drones, and insurance rates. The U.S. Navy kept the strait open in 1988. The question is, in 2026, when the mines hit the water, will the American economy survive the shock? This brings us to the final variable, the one the government hopes you don't notice. In 1988, during Operation Praying Mantis, the United States had a secret weapon. It wasn't a missile or a jet. It was the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Our underground salt caverns in Louisiana and Texas were being filled to capacity. We had a safety net. If the strait closed, we could survive for months. Today, that safety net is gone. We sold our insurance policy to buy temporary comfort. If the Strait of Hormuz closes tomorrow, we have no buffer. The shock won't be absorbed by salt caverns in Louisiana. It will be absorbed directly by your bank account. History is trying to warn us. The mines are back in the water. The proxy forces are active. The rhetoric from Tehran is identical to 1988. The only difference is that this time, we are financially vulnerable in a way we weren't back then. The U.S. Navy can win the battle at sea. They can sink the ships, they can clear the mines, but they cannot print oil, and they cannot fight the laws of supply and demand. This is Declassified File 93.1. The official story is that the oil is safe. The truth is that the fuse is already burning. If you want to survive the next crash, you need to see the files the news refuses to open. The files are open. The truth is declassified. This is History Declassified.